So we'll sort of begin by setting a motivation for the session. And just think why you're here and what aims you have for this. Are you meditating on compassion to benefit yourself and others? And then we'll sort of do a bit of a traditional start again. So we just briefly do a few prayers normally to start. And what we'll do is I'll share some on the screen. It's up to you whether you join in. And when we do these, you can kind of visualize and feel as though in the space in front of you, in the room with you, is Shakyamuni Buddha surrounded by any kind of master you feel a connection to, any spiritual teacher you feel a connection to, and then surrounding yourself with all sentient beings, friends, enemies, loved ones, strangers, and think you're leading them in the prayer into enlightenment. So we start with this verse of praise of Shakyamuni Buddha 3 times. Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfect complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, know of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans, to you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfect and complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, know of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans, to you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfect complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, know of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans, to you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Then the mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha 3 times. Tayatha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Mahamunaye Soha. Tayatha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Mahamunaye Soha. Tayatha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Mahamunaye Soha. And then, in the interest of time, brevity, which is just like the praise to the Perfectional Wisdom Sutras, thinking that we're reciting the entire meaning of all these sutras. The inexpressible, inconceivable, and indescribable professional wisdom, unproduced, unceasing, the nature of space, object of the uniquely knowing transcendental wisdom, to the Mother Victorious ones, and 3 times I prostrate. Then we recite the mantra 3 times. Tayatha Om Gati Gati Pai Gati Parasam Gati Bodhisattva. Tayatha Om Gati Gati Pai Gati Parasam Gati Bodhisattva. Tayatha Om Gati Gati Pai Gati Parasam Gati Bodhisattva. And then finally we offer the short mandala to request the teachings from Shakyamuni Buddha. Sashipodi Yushin Meto Ralivalinki Nire Yembadi Sangye Shindu Mite Dokunan Dahinla Chopasho Irangu Ratnamandala Kanyatayami. And then finally, taking refuge in 3 jewels as the path, the teacher, the method, and the support on the path to enlightenment and peace. Sangye choram soni choram la chanchu padu dani kapsu chi dagi chunyen gebe sonam gi dola penche sangye rupa sho sangye choram soni choram la chanchu padu dani kapsu chi dagi chunyen gebe sonam gi dola penche sangye rupa sho sangye choram soni choram la Chanchu Batu Tani Kapsu Chi Dagi Chunyin Gipe Sonamgi Dwola Penshu Sangye Dupa Shu. I take refuge and am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By the merits of listening to the Dharma, may from a Buddha to benefit transmigrated beings. And then, so we'll start from there and we sort of think back to where we are in the text now. So if we're basing these on the foundation of all good qualities, this short Lamrim text by Tsongkhapa. And up until this point, we've covered the small scope, the topics of guru devotion, precious human rebirth, karma, then the middling scope on the suffering of samsara, and sort of briefly touched on refuge and the morality of the individual liberation. And then now we're up to the final part of the text, so the great scope, focusing on bodhicitta. So this is based on the verse that reads, just as I have fallen to the sea of samsara, serve all mother of transmigratory beings. Please bless me to see this, train supreme bodhicitta, and bear the responsibility of freeing transmigratory beings. So, yeah, bodhicitta is kind of this wish beyond compassion. So we think to develop bodhicitta, we need to develop compassion and we need to develop loving kindness. So we use these as a starting point, beginning with sort of developing this wish to benefit beings, and then bodhicitta is going a step beyond that and saying, okay, it's not enough to just wish that they're free, but I'll work to liberate sentient beings, I'll work to benefit everyone. So what we'll typically do is normally it's a bit more of a talk class, but the topic of bodhicitta isn't what you can teach on, it's just sort of meditative experience. So there's a couple of quotes you can kind of think of to start. And Shantadeva's Bodhisattva Charivatara on the engaging the Bodhisattva's deeds in chapter 1. He says, like the supreme gold-making elixir, it takes this unclean body and transforms it into the priceless jewel, the victor's body. Therefore, firmly seize this mind of enlightenment. So he's saying that bodhicitta is what transforms us to a Buddha. It's what allows us to progress to full enlightenment. And it's what distinguishes a Bodhisattva and a Buddha from an Arhat. And from that, we can sort of say, in a similar quote, Chandakirti starts his entering the middle way with the praise of great compassion. He says, heroes and middle-level Buddhas are not heroes and solitary realizers arise from the Buddha. Buddhas are born from Bodhisattvas. That the compassionate mind and non-dual cognition, as well as the awakening mind, these are the cause of Bodhisattvas. So he's saying that bodhicitta and compassion are what cause Bodhisattva. As compassion alone is to be accepted to be the seed of the perfect harvest of Buddhahood, the water that nourishes it, and the fruit that is long a source of enjoyment, I will praise compassion at the start of all. So basically to attain full liberation as a Buddha and freedom from suffering, which we touched on last week, you need to have bodhicitta and compassion. So what we're going to do is there's two methods of meditating on bodhicitta. So two techniques is the six cause and one effect method, and is the which relies on tongue and equanimity. And the one we'll go for today is slightly easier, and it relies on equanimity and seeing the suffering of all sentient beings. So before we start, again, it's based on seeing all sentient beings as your mother. And for this is a quote from Nagarjuna, where he says, if we divide this world into pieces the size of juniper berries, the number of these would not be as great as the number of times that each sentient being has been our mother. So this is the real motivation for the meditation. So what we'll do is we'll make a start, but rather than just jumping straight into analysis, we'll begin with a very brief blessing meditation and concentration meditation. So starting off by visualizing above the crown of your head or in the space in front of you, Shakyamuni Buddha. And think with the first request that he purifies all obstacles to realizations, that white nectar light radiates from his heart and enters between the eyebrows and fills your body with white light. And then in the same way, make a request that he grants the blessings for you to have the realizations of this in this very practice. And think golden nectar light radiates from his heart and enters through the space between your eyebrows and fills your body with this golden nectar light and have great bliss. And these blessings fill your body. And then from this, begin concentration meditation. So for this, you just pick the object of your choosing. If you want to concentrate on the breath or the visualized image of the Buddha or anything like that. Then we just do a short period of this concentration meditation. So if we were to take the breath as the object, maybe feeling the rise and the fall of the chest or the sensation on your nose, the in and the out. And just focus on that with the mind undistracted. So with that concentration meditation as a base, then move on to the sort of meditation on bodhicitta. So if we start by thinking how all sentient beings are equal in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. And just take a few moments to think about this and how you want happiness and its causes and to be free from suffering and its causes. And in the same way, all sentient beings are the same. And then think how we've been trapped in samsara since beginningless time, constantly thrown from life to life. So being thrown from life to life have been all relationships to all sentient beings. They've been our friends, our loved ones, our enemies. And then it follows they've all been our mother at some point, or someone who's cared for us. So just think on that. And from there, think about how if all sentient beings have been our mother, and they've been all relationships to us, then all they want is happiness and its causes and to be free from suffering its causes. How can we have any partiality? We must treat them all the same. They all, they all want the same thing. And so just briefly think how all sentient beings are equal in this regard. And then we want to think how if all beings have been our mother, and they've shown us great kindness. So the key meditation is just to recall the kindness, thinking of the kindness shown to you by your mother in this life, or if you have a difficult relationship with them, someone who cared for you, raised you, your father, your grandparents, or anyone. And just spend some quite a bit of time here, focusing on the kindness shown to us. Thinking of all the kindness, starting at the beginning, carrying us for 9 months during pregnancy, and the difficulty of childbirth, so on. Up until right now, any kindness you've been shown, or any and all kindness. And then once you've thought about the kindness, thinking about the suffering, how you cannot bear to see them suffer. So thinking of the suffering in this life, of any pain and suffering they experience, but also thinking of the sufferings of samsara, like we've discussed, the birth, aging, sickness, and death, and the suffering of the lower realms and the higher realms. And think how you don't want your mother in this life to suffer at all, or this person that you has cared for you. And then expand this to all sentient beings, thinking How have they been your mother? They've shown you the same kindness as the mother of this life. And if you cannot cope to see the mother of this life suffer, how can you bear to see any of your past mothers suffer? Think about the suffering all sentient beings endure. You cannot bear to witness this suffering, so you will free them from suffering. And how will we relieve this suffering? We'll do so by working to attain full enlightenment ourselves. So we have the omniscience of a Buddha needed to guide all sentient beings in a way best suited to them to full Buddhahood. So then, meditating, hold this thought that then we will practice this life to liberate all sentient beings who've been our mothers and free them from even the most subtle form of suffering. And with that thought, we gently conclude the meditation. So, with that wish, we should aim to do all our activities with this motivation. And then every action we do becomes beneficial and generates merit or positive karma. And just for the sake of completeness, just there's a few sort of technical details to cover that crop up in the text. So this first verse on bodhicitta that we've discussed, not that we started with today, this, just as I fall into the sea of samsara, so have all mother transmigratory beings. Please bless me to see this trained supreme bodhicitta and bear the responsibility of freeing transmigratory beings. So this is verse on aspirational bodhicitta, or wishing bodhicitta. And of the two sort of bodhicitta can be divided into two, aspirational and engaging. So aspiration is the wish, thinking, I will, I'll work and do the best I can to liberate all these mother sentient beings. And then the engaging bodhicitta is covered in the next verse, where it says, even if I develop only bodhicitta, but do not practice the three types of morality, I will achieve enlightenment. My clear recognition of this, please bless me to practice the bodhisattva vows of great energy. So this is the engaging bodhicitta, the actual decision that, okay, this aspiration isn't enough. I'm going to work to benefit transmigrated beings, all these sentient beings. And we then say we'll do it with the three types of action. Yeah, so these three types of morality, if I do not practice three types of morality. So what are the three types of morality? Well, they are the morality of working for the benefit of sentient beings. So it's the engaging in virtuous deeds, not engaging in non-virtuous deeds, and then practicing the bodhisattva vows and working for liberation of sentient beings. So yeah, the sort of Tibetan descriptions, some Sultan being morality and some being three. So it's these are the three aspects of the perfection and morality of the six perfections of bodhisattva practices. And it's divided into three. The first being restraining from wrongdoing. The second is accumulation of merit, or the carrying out of virtue. And the third is the morality of benefiting sentient beings, so working as much as we can. So there's the difference between the two really is whether you're engaging in these three or not, whether you're going out of your way to benefit beings or not. And so the aspirational bodhicitta has sort of two main divisions, or it has these commitments that are kind of said to be four commitments of aspirational bodhicitta. And these four can be divided, well, it's said to be how to guard these vows from degenerating in this life. For to develop inspiration. So the first is to develop inspiration, whereby you contemplate the advantages of bodhicitta. Thinking about this very first quote from Shantideva, how it transforms us into a Buddha. So thinking of these benefits of bodhicitta, we then meditate on it. And then the second is to strengthen one's bodhicitta. So to think about going beyond just saying, oh yes, it's so good to develop bodhicitta, but then actually working on it and meditating in this way. The third is to not give up on bodhicitta because of the negative deeds of other sentient beings. So people are confused in ignorance and they think they don't know how certain actions are actually causing them harm and they think they cause them happiness. So we don't give up when they're confused. And then the fourth is to work to accumulate the two collections of merit and wisdom. So by committing good deeds and studying and practicing the Dharma and Buddhism in this way, that's how we fulfill those four. And then when we maintain them, this is the first two aspects of the three types of morality. So the first way of maintaining and enhancing the aspirational bodhicitta is to abandon the negative dharmas. And the second is to practice the four positive dharmas. So the negative dharmas are to lie, to discourage others from committing virtue, abusing a bodhisattva out of anger, and then putting on a fake aspect of selflessness, pretending you're very selfless and you're doing things for the benefit of others when you're actually being selfish. So in this way, to benefit, you do the opposite. You don't tell lies. You don't discriminate amongst people. You encourage them to do good things. You don't abuse. So it says that you don't abuse a bodhisattva, but because we don't know who is a bodhisattva and who isn't, it means don't abuse anyone. And then finally, having this pure motivation of bodhicitta, you try and encourage people to develop compassion where you can. And then the aspirational bodhicitta, you have sorry, that's the aspirational bodhicitta, and then for the engaging bodhicitta, there is the Bodhisattva vows, the 18 root vows, and so on, which we won't go over now because we'll run out of time. But it's where you can study those without taking them, and it's good to study them and make sure you can hold these vows before you take them. So the way of taking the vows as well, that can be done from a preceptor, or they can be done from an image of the Buddha, whether it's a statue, a picture, or just a visualized Buddha in front of you. And the Bodhisattva vows are different from the Pratimoksha vows, in that the Pratimoksha vows end at the time of death. They're just taken for one lifetime. Whereas the Bodhisattva vows last for lifetimes. They last up until you become a Buddha. And it's not that you remember them every life, and if you break them in your next life, you're in trouble because you don't know you have them. What it means is you create the cause, you plant the seed to take the vows again, life after life, and constantly progress on the path. So it's very beneficial to take these vows. So what I'll do before we end is I'll talk through the ritual of how you can take them, and then it's up to you if you want to take any of these or none of them. It doesn't matter. Especially if you're new and maybe aren't sure, don't rush into taking any vows. But what I'll do is I'll lead through the ritual, then there's a recording available for you to base it on again. So to take the Bodhisattva vows from the image of a Buddha, think in the space in front of you, the same as before with the visualization, that there's Shakyamuni Buddha above you, just sort of about there in front of your face or slightly above you, and he's surrounded by the spiritual masters of the Dharma. Whether it's the Tibetan masters, the Theravada masters, Chinese or Japanese masters, Korean, Indian pandits, anyone you feel a strong connection to. And you think they're really here. Doesn't matter if you can't hold a very good visualization, just the feeling that they're present is enough. And then with this heartfelt motivation of bodhicitta, like we've just meditated on, you start by taking refuge. So use the verse that we start for the teachings. So I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. From the merit I collect by practicing giving and other perfections, where I attain the state of Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. And you recite this 3 times, so I'll read it in Tibetan. Sangye chodam soni chodam la janju badu dani kapsu chi dagi jinso gipe sonam ki drola pinche sangye rupa sho sangye chodam soni chodam la janju badu dani kapsu chi dagi jinso gipe sonam ki drola pinche sangye rupa sho sangye chodam soni chodam la Jancho Padu Dani Kapsuchi Daki Jinso Gipe Sonangi Drola Penchir Sangye Drupa Sho. And then we develop this equanimity like we started the meditation. May all sentient beings be parted from aversion and clinging, feeling close to some and distant from others. May they win the bliss that is specially sublime. May they find release from an ocean of unbearable sorrow. And may they never be parted from freedom's true joy. And then the verse for engaging bodhicitta. So from this moment on, until I am a Buddha, may I never give up, though my life be at stake, the attitude wishing to gain full enlightenment in order to free from the fears of samsara and nirvana's complacency all sentient beings. So if you want to take the vows of aspirational bodhicitta at this time, we'll recite the verse 2 more times, making 3 in total. From this moment on until I am a Buddha, may I never give up that my life be at stake. The attitude wishing to gain full enlightenment in order to free from the fears of samsara and nirvana's complacency all sentient beings. From this moment on until I am a Buddha, may I never give up that my life be at stake. The attitude wishing to gain full enlightenment in order to free from the fears of samsara and nirvana's complacency all sentient beings. And then you think that the Buddha and Bodhisattvas are very pleased you've taken these vows. And at this point, you can then visualize that the Buddha dissolves into you and fills you with blessings. Or if you want to take the vows of engaging bodhicitta, or you want to strengthen the vows you've taken and strengthen them, we recite the next verse, continue with the visualization. O Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Gurus, please listen to what I now say from the depths of my heart. Just as all Buddhas of the past have developed the thought of enlightenment, true bodhicitta, then practiced its stages of graded development, following the training of all Buddha's children. So may I too, for the sake of all beings, develop bodhicitta and follow the trainings exactly as all bodhisattvas have done. So then if you wish to take the bodhisattva vows, you recite this verse 2 more times, so a total of 3 again. O Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Gurus, please listen to what I now say from the depths of my heart. Just as all Buddhas of the past have developed the thought of enlightenment, true bodhicitta, then practice its stages of graded development, following the training of all Buddha's children. So may I too, for the sake of all beings, develop bodhicitta and follow the trainings exactly as all bodhisattvas have done. O Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Gurus, please listen to what I now say from the depths of my heart. Just as all Buddhas of the past have developed the thought of enlightenment, true bodhicitta, then practice its stages of graded development, following the training of all Buddha's children. So I too, for the sake of all beings, develop bodhicitta and follow the trainings exactly as all bodhisattvas have done. And then once again, think the Buddhas and bodhisattvas are very pleased, and a duplicate of the Buddha emanates from his heart and dissolves into your heart, and think you've received a full, pure set of bodhisattva vows. And if you've taken them before, think that the vows you've broken are restored, the vows you've degenerated are purified, and any undegenerated vows are strengthened. And then once you've taken these vows, it's important to rejoice. So then recite these verses. At this moment, my life has become truly fruitful. For having attained an endowed human body, today I've developed a true Buddha essence, bodhicitta, and thus have become a Buddha's child. Applying now any skilled means whatsoever, may I always accord what I do with this essence, and follow the actions of all Buddha's children, and never confuse with this pure, faultless essence any teachings that lack this enlightening thought. And then if you've taken either of the vows at this point, meditate briefly to yourself how wonderful it is you've been able to take these vows and how you will work to maintain them. So then, thinking this Shakyamuni Buddha visualized in front dissolves into light and enters some space between your eyebrows, filling your body entirely with this white light and giving you blessings to attain full enlightenment and lead all sentient beings to full enlightenment. So we will finish there. That concludes the verses on bodhicitta. And next week we'll go on to the verse on emptiness. But before we dedicate an end, have a little bit of time for if there's any questions. Either or mute yourself and say them, or just type them in the chat.
That was really cool. Thank you. I really enjoyed that. The last few months I've been thinking a lot about how I can kind of use like yoga practice and things like that to kind of help the local community and society and things like that. So that fit really well today.
That
It was really lovely. The dog also enjoyed it, as you can tell. Yeah, so that was really, really interesting. It was a nice one to start with because it felt really well aligned for the last few months, which is really wonderful. So, and I think sometimes because I'm on quite a streak for meditating at the minute, which I really enjoy. But it's nice to have slightly more traditional practices as well. Because modern ones are great, but sometimes they don't always align particularly well. So having kind of more a classical traditional standpoint just really brings you back to why you meditate and what you meditate for.
Yeah, Lamb is really useful because it's a very structured system. You know, there's a purpose to everything and nothing's missed out. Which, you know, like you said, the modern ones are really useful, but sometimes they miss little details that then make them difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, one technique you might find useful for when you're teaching yoga is a simplified version of what's called the 9-round breathing. So normally you kind of do a fancy yoga technique like this, but you can just sitting there and starting blocking the right nostril, breathe in, then block the left and breathe out. And you do that 3 times.
Okay.
And then you alternate. You breathe in through the right nostril, breathe out through the left, and doing that 3 times. And then breathing in through both nostrils, and breathing out through both nostrils 3 times. And that's a really simplified way and a secular way of doing the kind of traditional 9-round breathing, which is an exercise for clearing your channels and preparing for meditation. But it's also a really good technique for someone with anxiety.
Yeah, I do a lot of nostril breathing with people because it's really impactful.
It's a really sudden way. If someone's got anxiety, you can do that. You know, it takes 30 seconds and you can kind of kill those running thoughts.
It's funny as well because in yoga we would say it clears the channels as well because you have little channels that run through your body in the yoga scripts as well. So yeah, it's all very closely aligned. It's really good to know. Yeah, I was thinking as well because you also have chitta in yoga, which is mind stuff and chatter and things. So yeah, it's also closely linked in together. It comes around in a big circle, which is really good.
So what we'll do is we'll end there. And to end, seeing as we're doing it in a more traditional manner, it's always really good to all sort of Dharma activities to have 3 stages. You begin with motivation, then the middling part is the main practice, and then the third is the conclusion. You need to dedicate the merit. And there's another reason to dedicate the merit is that it protects it from being destroyed by anger, which is really important because most people develop anger a lot. So this protects our merit and makes our sessions useful because if you then walk out of the room, get angry at someone, you've just wasted all your time. So to do this, we'll recite the very brief dedication prayers. And when we do this, also try and think how the person making the dedication, the act of praying the dedication prayers, and the aim we're dedicating towards the full enlightenment all sentient beings, all empty of inherent existence. So they're in the nature of cause and effect and necessarily come true. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all migrated beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect pure Losandak's teachings to shine forever. And for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama especially, but all spiritual teachers. Gangwei Vawe Howe Zenkan So Pendan Dewa Malu Jongwei Ni Chenwei Zewang Tenzin Yatsuri Shopesite Badu Tengyuchi. And then, especially because we focus on bodhicitta, so may the supreme bodhicitta, not yet born, arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. May the precious view of emptiness not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. Then the final dedication verse we sung, Shantideva's Bodhisattva Charitara. As long as space remains, as long as migrators remain, until there may too remain, dispel the suffering of migrators. So, thank you very much.